Okay, welcome to episode 579 of the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, another episode of BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. We're going to talk about some New York Knicks basketball in this episode because, well, finally talking about I shouldn't say finally. We've been playing well. But we're talking about a win, talking about a Knicks win tonight. And I'm recording this, the usual, the night after the game, November 16th, Thursday night. So let's get right into the show. Let's not waste time. We got some things to discuss. Let's go. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
U.S. trying to close the show.
She was doing a great job of feeding.
That is over.
Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. Welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 579 of BD4. Let's talk, man. Let's talk New York Knicks. Before we actually get into the game, I want to run through this topic real quick because it's got to do with the Knicks, but not on the court. Obviously, the whole Mark Jackson thing is now making some headlines because I don't even know where to start with this. I mean, if you've been following, the Knicks hired Mark Jackson, I want to say early September, late August. Not the Knicks, but MSG. And, the Knicks hired him to work for MSG. And lately, you got that report that he was fired. Just recently. The Knicks say that a dispute between Mark Jackson and Darren Erman happened on the plane. Jackson knows Darren from their Golden State Warriors days when they were both coaching that team. Jackson was the head coach. And then Mark Jackson fired Darren. For recording players without their knowledge, right? We knew about that when we hired this guy. That he's people called him a snake. It was a little weird. But that's what the Knicks are saying. The Knicks are saying they are not getting along still, and there was some kind of dispute on the plane, and he was banned. Then Jackson puts out a video on his social media last night saying that he turned down the offer a week ago, and he was absolutely certain on saying that. He repeated it twice. And I'm sitting here, first of all, I was wondering like when he was gonna debut in the booth, because like Clyde's been out a few games already, so I was curious. I'm like, we've had Wally. Last night we had Gus. He's back. Love that, by the way. And so I'm sitting here, I'm like, is something going on? So we get that video, and in the video, he's just talking about how he said last week he turned it down, and 4 different reporters called him the other day, and they asked him to respond to this. But I don't know. It's weird. He's obviously disappointed. He's frustrated with the Knicks organization. I don't know that I have a side here because Jackson's saying that he turned this down a week ago. But the rumors, the report said, again, this was like in September, that the Knicks were bringing him in to work for MSG. So I don't know how that adds up. I feel like he accepted the deal and then maybe walked it back. Maybe something happened between him and Darren. I don't know. That's really all we know for sure as Knicks fans. We can just draw up whatever conclusions we want, but we don't know. It's a little weird to me, man. You can put on your conspiracy hats, whatever it's called, tinfoil hats, make your conspiracies, but like, I don't know. It's to me, it's I don't care that much. It's disappointing because I love the guy. I'm a big fan of him. I'm disappointed that he's not going to be calling games on MSG. He said never say never, so you never know. But yeah, it is disappointing. But I'm not going to sit here and like you're starting to hear the narratives. Oh, the Knicks, Dolan doesn't take care of the Knicks veterans, and that's a bit of an overused narrative to me. Sure, you got some guys who you ruffled some feathers with over the years, Oakley, maybe a few others in there who you don't really get along with, but how about all the guys who return to the Garden every single night and speak very highly of the organization? Sprewell, Mello is there every night now. Starks is always there, he's got some foundation and he's always holding up checks at half. He's always with the organization. These guys talk highly of him. You got Allen Houston working in the organization. You got Rick Brunson, who had a cup of coffee with the Knicks, working in the organization as an assistant coach. Tom Thibodeau, Clyde Frazier, right? I mean, all these guys are with the organization. They gave Van Gundy a chance, but he chose the enemy. He's a consultant now in their front office. But I think that narrative's a bit overblown. I don't think we know enough to really draw these conclusions. It's not like the Yankees, people. The Yankees, you could say, don't really bring in their legends. But the Knicks, I feel like, treat them pretty well. I think people just like to give Dolan shit because it was a thing forever. But he's been quiet the last several years, and I just think young fans are very emotional and have this infatuation with their players and their favorite players, and they're always going to back their favorite players, and that's just how emotional people get. I think people are thinking way too much with their emotions and picking favorites. But thinking rationally, emotions aside, I don't know how I can just totally blindly side with Mark Jackson here because I don't know enough, and it's saying that he turned it down months after it was reported that they hired him is weird. There would have been something out there. It was out there that the Knicks hired him. So he would have seen that. Something would have been said. It's just a little weird. There's something obviously we don't know that hasn't been said. Anyways, that's it. I'm not gonna, it's unnecessary drama that we don't need right now. I'm a Knicks fan, so I care about winning and losing. So just keep winning. Who cares? People love drama. Literally nobody really cares too much about this, but they only pretend to because it's social media, and social media loves outrage. They love that mob mentality. It's easy to join in with everybody else and be angry about something. That's literally what Twitter is. So I get that people are going to make this a bigger deal than it is. Again, it's unfortunate for Mark. It's unfortunate for us as Knicks fans because a lot of us love the guy. I love the guy. He's great. I loved his commentary on ESPN. He was obviously a great Knick. It's unfortunate. I was looking forward to it, but I'm not going to sit here and drag it on longer than it needs to be dragged on. We talked about it for a day. It's over. We talked about it here for a few minutes just now. That's all we're going to say. Gus Johnson's back, though. That is one guy who is with the organization, and it was really nice to see him back with MSG last night. Loved it. I think 15 years it's been. I loved him. I thought he was good. Wally was excited to have him back. I liked his calls. The Brunson burner call was excellent. Earlier in the game, he used the Big Ragu for Dante DiVincenzo. That's actually been his nickname, the Big Ragu. I don't know if Wally knew that, the way he was responding to that. But yeah, it's good to have Gus Johnson back. He's easy to root for in the booth, and good guy he seems to be. So yeah, that's the positive on that. Knicks stuff. RJ Barrett was out again last night. Migraine. I think it's the knee. I've said it. Why lie, Rob? Well, I think they're lying because RJ is a potential trade chip. Do they do something down the line? And it'd be stupid to not lie about something like that. If you're planning on moving RJ in a bigger deal down the line, why would you let the league know and confirm that he's got a knee problem? Hopefully it's just a migraine and then it passes, but I highly doubt that it's just a migraine. And if it was just a migraine, take something, bro. Take something. I'm sorry. I don't care if I'm hurting your feelings, if I'm saying something you don't want to hear. Athletes play with much worse. So we'll end that there. Let's talk Knicks. Let's talk the actual game where the Knicks won 116-114 against the Hawks last night in Atlanta. We'll do it as soon as we return from our first break here on BD4, episode 579. Stay with us. Be right back in about 20 seconds.
We appreciate you sticking around and listening so far. When you have a chance, be sure to open YouTube to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you're already watching on YouTube, be sure to head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate your feedback and are always looking to improve. Now, with that all said, let's get you back to the show.
Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ. The Knicks, 116-114 victory last night in Atlanta. This was a game. This was a tale of, I shouldn't say two halves. It was a tale of 1 quarter and 3 quarters. Because the Knicks start very hot in the first quarter. They're running in transition a ton. You got Mitch working the glass early. Brunson sniping. Great playmaking early from him. Quinn Snyder calls a timeout. Didn't do much because after that the Knicks kept going. The bench checks in to play alongside Brunson. Dante gets going with the basket at the rim. Nice pass in transition. And throughout the entire first quarter, Randle is just on fire. He keeps attacking. 14 points in the period. And the Knicks go up 11 points after 1. Second quarter game came, and this game became very frustrating, very stressful, and very back and forth. It was a literal battle the rest of the way for the Knicks. It felt like a playoff game. Because of the tension between the two sides. And the Hawks adjusted. They start running zone, and the Knicks have never been good adjusting to the zone. And so the Hawks cut it to 3. The Knicks start turning it over a ton of bad turnovers in there, sloppy, careless play. They're leaving some guys open. Saddiq Bey knocks down some threes. Trae Young goes to the line after Grimes commits a tough foul on him. And the Hawks cut it to 1 point at halftime. Third quarter comes. Knicks are hot early. Grimes knocks down a couple threes. But you get some more very careless turnovers. That led to some transition baskets for the Hawks. It led to a couple extra possessions. You had a Trae to Capella lob. You had another three-pointer that I think it was Bey who knocked it down. And then the Knicks get hot. They answer back. Couple three-pointers from Brunson. Gets hot again. Randle's knocking down some threes. Then he starts getting hot at the basket. Hartenstein's shipping on the boards. He's getting putbacks, and he has an and one finish off of that touch pass by Randle late in the clock. Quickly wraps up the period with a deep three-point ball off of a pick and roll. And then you get on the other end in the final second. Randle steals Trae Young's cookies, and Hartenstein pushes him. He shoves him like 5 feet because he's small and scrawny, And Trae Young throws a little temper tantrum, but the Knicks go up 6 points after 3. And then the fourth quarter, the vibes weren't good, at least in the opening minutes. The Knicks go 0 for 5 in the fourth to start. Grimes then injures his hand. He leaves the game with a hand injury, does not return. You got a good possession defensively by Josh Hart, and then he comes back on the other end, knocks down the Knicks' first field goal of the period finally. And then the last several minutes of this game just gave me headaches, again, stress that I don't need around this time of year with the holidays coming up. I want to be happy. And I don't want to be saying a bunch of cuss words at the TV like I was doing in this fourth quarter. Because Saddiq Bey misses a shot. The Knicks get a shot. They turn it over. And they just keep missing. In this one possession they have where they got up a bunch of shot. Miss. And then they turn it over. It's just back and forth. I'm trying to remember. I don't have a ton on my notes, but at one point, the turnovers and the transition baskets going the other way leads to this big giant Hawks run, and it's capped off by Saddiq Bey throwing a putback slam. And it felt at that moment like the icing at the cake for the Hawks. It felt like the nail in the coffin for the Knicks. I thought that was it. The Hawks were taking momentum quickly there, and it just felt very Boston-y, where that game a couple nights ago was a close game in the fourth quarter, and it stretched into a double-figure lead within seconds. The home crowd was into it. Very similar vibe. So after they go up off that run, fortunately, the Hawks are the Hawks. And so here came the Knicks again. Following a timeout, a big one that we'll discuss in a second, Quickley scores 5 straight. Brunson knocks down a massive three-pointer for an 8-0 Knick run, and they take the lead off of it. Later, you get Brunson knocking down another significant three-pointer to go up 1 point. And then later, after that, you had the Quickley three-point foul when he fouls Trae Young. Trae Young makes all 3 free throws, despite the challenge, because it was upheld. Then you got the clutch play where Brunson finds a cutting Randle to tie it. And then later, with the Knicks up 1, Brunson pulls up for his biggest shot yet with a 16-footer with 18 seconds left on the game clock. And the Knicks go up 3. The Knicks knock down their free throws. Bogdanovich takes an awful shot. I don't know what Quinn Snyder drew up there for their ATO offense. I don't know what Bogdanovich was thinking when he took that shot, but it happened, and the Knicks get the ball. But Dante DiVincenzo has a 5-second call on him on the inbound. So the Knicks have to defend again. And a very good foul by the Knicks there. Smart foul by Tom Thibodeau. It sends DeJounte Murray to the line. He gets a lane violation, so that turns it over. The Knicks get the ball, and they eventually win this game, 116-114. It was wild, absolutely wild. And I want to start off talking about this 116-114 win by crediting Coach Tom Thibodeau. All right, I want to do that. We'll start with the nitpicks, because I want to end on a positive with them. If there were any nitpicks, the Knicks continue to be abysmal in ATO offense. Like, their out-of-bounds plays just never, specifically on their inbounds, it's always a turnover. It's always a violation, just bad passes. And last season, we saw a lot of that last year. And we saw a lot of that in the fourth quarter last year. And here we are, just the 11th game of the season. We're already having another inbounding issue as Dante DiVincenzo gets the 5-second call. I saw a suggestion on Twitter, since this has been a problem for the Knicks for 2 years now, that said it was smart that maybe we should have Isaiah Hartenstein inbounding since he's got the size to be able to look over the defender, and he's also a great passer. Just a thought. It's not a bad idea. Makes perfect sense. And then two, I think the only other nitpick I have on Thibs this game is the challenge on the Trae Young three-pointer. Tough challenge. It seemed pretty obvious to me that Quickley reached into Trae Young's cookie jar and Thibs challenges anyway and lost an important timeout, but that's it. I mean, if we're going to criticize the challenge, how about doing the opposite? How about the great use of that timeout there in the fourth quarter by Thibs after the Hawks go on that run? Because that timeout he used, that after that, it changed the entire game for the Knicks. That timeout it followed a 7-0 Hawks run that led to an 8-0 Knicks run. And I don't think the Knicks missed a shot like the rest of the way. It didn't feel like it. But yeah, he calls the timeout, and specifically he uses that timeout to dig into his playbook and target Trae Young by putting him into every single action the rest of the way. The Hawks were doing a nice job of hiding Trae Young throughout the game, but in the fourth quarter, after they went on that run, after the timeout, you get Quickley and Randle. Thibs gets quick setting those guard-to-guard screens that gets Trae Young onto him, and it led to 5 straight points from Quickley. The first one, the Knicks clear the side for Quickley and Randle to work a two-man action together, knowing that Atlanta wasn't going to switch Trae onto Julius. So the most Trae could do there was to high hedge onto Randle once Quickley cuts from the baseline. So Quickley cuts up, Trae hedges high, Quickley slips the screen, fades into space at the top of the key, knocks down a three-point shot with Trae late on his recover. But I think the genius part of that was that the Knicks had Brunson get them into the set. He initiates the set. So when Quickley had the ball up top ready to shoot, Brunson was the one on the strong side, one pass away, so the Hawks couldn't bring the help. I thought that was a very important part of that play, which was probably the reason Quickley got that look as open as he was. And then the second time, you could see Randle calls Quickley over to run the same exact play again. They run the same exact thing to a T, but this time, Trae Young recovers a little better, but he's still off balance closing out. Quickley recognizes that, and instead of shooting, he drives left to blow by Trae, and he finishes with a right-handed floater. And the Knicks actually scored on every single possession following that timeout that Thibs called. So I'm going to give the guy credit. I think people should give the guy credit for once, because the rest of the way, he kept doing it. He kept getting Trae into the action time and time again. A few possessions later, you saw Quinn Snyder make the adjustment. He puts Trae onto Josh Hart, knowing that Josh Hart's not a threat, and he puts length onto Quickley with DeJounte Murray. And the Knicks were in the same setup with Quickley in the corner the next time down and Randle in the strong side elbow. But knowing the Hawks aren't going to switch Murray onto Randle either, Quickley screens for Randle, but then pops off to the screen into the corner again, and he's open for a three. He didn't take the shot, but he ends up drawing contact after a pick and roll with Randle. And then the next time down, the Hawks have the same setup with DeJounte Murray on Quickley in the strong side corner, and then they still had Johnson on Randle at the elbow. This time, Quickley doesn't come up to the screen, but he allows Randle to go one-on-one with Johnson in space. Randle drives, he picks up his dribble, makes a pass to the corner, and Brunson makes a hell of a cut reading that pass because it looked like it was headed straight out of bounds, but he gets a head start on the cut, catches it, knocks down the three. And the next time after that, it's when you see the Knicks start targeting Trae Young again. They bring Hart up to screen for Brunson. That gets Trae into the action again because he was on Hart. The Hawks high hedge it with Trae and Hunter. Brunson drives right to get past the hedge, and because the Hawks hedged, it left Hart open on the weak side for a three-pointer. Brunson hits him. Now, Hart, of course, doesn't take the open three. We discuss that all the time. But he ends up driving to the basket for a floater that he knocked down. And then Thibs runs stagger screens for Brunson with Randle and Hart coming over to the left wing for him to get Trae into the action again. And this specific play never developed, but it still led to offense on that possession. And then you get the possession where Brunson knocked down the dagger, right? Hart comes to screen for Brunson to once again get Trey into the action. Hunter eventually takes the assignment as Trey kind of bitches out. And you could see that Hunter was late recovering off the Hart screen, so he's still off balance when he takes on Brunson. Brunson takes him off the dribble, knocks down the pull-up jumper on him, and that's game. So we've seen it. We're seeing it right in front of us. Thibs is digging into his playbook more in the early going in the season here. And that's a good thing, you know? That's a good thing. We're seeing a lot more cutting from the Knicks, especially recently. And we're just seeing a lot more guys getting featured into certain actions that they're not usually in. You know, how about early on in the game? It's late in the first quarter. The Knicks go DHO into a Spain pick and roll where Brunson hits the roller in Isaiah Hartenstein. That's something we don't see often. So I just liked what I saw. And I'll add this in there. Thibs actually did some things with the lineup that I liked. And we don't see Grimes with the bench unit often. Well, we saw some of it last night. It's a nice new wrinkle. You know, it was the second quarter, right when the Knicks are starting to choke that big lead away for the first time. A couple of minutes into the period, following that Bogdanovich block on Josh Hart. Whistle blows. Thibs checks in Grimes to play alongside the bench. Quickley, Dante Hart, and Hartenstein. Lasts about 4 or 5 minutes, but he did get a lot of minutes throughout the second and third quarter, Grimes did, with Quickley. So you're seeing different lineups. You're seeing him dig into the playbook and be more dynamic offensively. So that's good. That's something we need with this offense being as slow as it is without RJ Barrett right now. So I wanted to start there by saying that I thought Tom Thibodeau coached a great game. So we'll talk more when we return from our second break. Stay with us on BD4.
You can also find us on social media. If you'd like, you can follow BD4 on Facebook, and we're at BD4Pod on both Instagram and Twitter. We appreciate you helping us grow more and more every day. Let's get back to it.
Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. So, Quentin Grimes played a good game last night, man. I thought Grimes was good. Obviously, the injury, that sucks. If he's out extended time, and if RJ's still not right, that's a big-time problem because those two are, well, they're two of your starters. They're your two wings, and you're already short on wing depth. That's an issue. And I am praying to God that at least one of them is okay for the back-to-back this weekend. But Grimes was good last night while he was there. 11 points, 4 of 11 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3, 29 minutes. And again, he didn't play the fourth because he got hurt at the top of the period. So he was probably on his way to a 30-plus minute game. You could see Randle and Brunson both scoring last night. So Grimes had space to operate more because of their gravity. He tried attacking some off the dribble a little bit last night too. Didn't work as great. He had some bad turnovers. But the shot was there. The quick release was going. He had a big third quarter where he scored 6 of his 11 points. 2 of his 3 triples came in the period. And since he doesn't get a ton of reps, it feels like such a big deal every time Grimes knocks down a shot in the second half. Like those shots feel so big. I go crazy whenever he hits a couple in a row. So those felt very big, and they were. But yeah, I mean, every time he has an opportunity to display what he has in him, he's actually done a pretty fine job, honestly. RJ Barrett's already missed 4 games this season. In 7 games with RJ, Grimes is averaging 6 points on 40% and 36% from 3. 1 double-figure effort in those 7 games. But in the 4 games without RJ, Grimes is averaging 11 points on 46%, 43% from 3, and he scored in double figures in 3 of those 4 games. So with more offensive freedom, he's done a better job being active and getting involved. And the Knicks have done a better job featuring him some more too. So we hope that continues. We hope he's healthy first, but we'll see. I have a bad feeling. Brunson had a great game. The passing is what impressed me the most because people, including myself at times, have been bitching about Brunson's playmaking balance this season. 3 turnovers isn't good last night. He had some awful ones in the first half that just left me so befuddled. But he did have 8 assists, and I'm pretty sure that's a season high. He made a real effort early on too to find his teammates. He hit the weak side corner once where Grimes was there, knocked down a 3. He hit the roller and Hartenstein out of a Spain pick and roll. He hit DiVincenzo backdoor for the layup. He found Quickley weak side for a 3-point attempt, but that play was negated when DiVincenzo has the offensive foul. He missed anyway, Quickley. But yeah, I liked how right out of the gate you could see there was a conscious effort for Brunson to get his guys involved in the game. And again, he's never going to be this pass first point guard. So anybody wanting him to have these 8-9 assist games more often, you're just going to be disappointed every night. But getting him to find that middle ground again, that's huge. That would be nice. So I liked seeing that. And he still got his 24 points last night. He was 8 of 19 from the floor, 6 of 10 from 3, and 2 of 9 from 2. So continuing to struggle bad from 2-point land. He had a rough second and third quarter. I'm still trying to hold out hope that he'll find his bread and butter again, man, because his efficiency at the first 2 levels is still not there yet. It felt like he was on his way because he was knocking down the mid-range, knocking down the floater in his last 2 games heading into last night. But no, last night comes and he's still missing easy bunnies at the rim, floaters off and on, and the Hawks did defend him well. That was part of the reason he was passing. The Hawks were putting length on Brunson. They were putting wingspan on him. They zoned him. You saw once again that they were using Josh Hart's as the helper to trap on him. So that's something that's probably going to be happening a lot more the more Josh Hart is gun shy. But again, it's hard to say. It's probably a bunch of combination of things, right? Is some of it from, like a FIBA effect? Maybe. Is some of it the league just adjusting? Well, we brought that up the other day, how, this is a kid who plays in Dallas his entire career, finally comes to New York, does what he does, and the league starts to notice because he's not in the middle of nowhere anymore. He's in New York City. So maybe they have adjusted to him. And now it's just on him to adjust back. Will he? I don't know. Did he peak? I don't know. But I, for one, am still holding out slim hope that he didn't peak. I still think he can be what he was last year. His confidence is slowly shrinking, but it's still there because historically he's just been way too damn efficient as a scorer for his efficiency to just take a dive this drastically at 27 years old. His 3-point game has been unbelievably efficient, though. Oh my gosh. I thought, I was impressed with it last season. He upped the volume a ton this year. He's upped the volume. He's upped the accuracy a ton. He's making an average of about 3 3-pointers made a game. He's taken about 6.5 a game. So he's shooting it at a 46% clip. That's incredible. He continues to be super clutch. That's one thing that's never going to go away with him. He's got that gene. His fourth quarter last night, I almost gave him the game ball because he was so great in the fourth. The 2 triples and then the dagger from 16 feet away. He knows how to create space, man. The hesitations, the head movement, the footwork, the counter dribbles. It's really impressive stuff to watch. He is an outstanding shot maker, an excellent shot creator, just a really fun half-court scorer. And I'm not afraid to say that he's one of the best half-court scorers in basketball because of his ability to do it so efficiently at all 3 levels. And again, I do expect it to come around soon. He continues to hit clutch baskets. He's 8 of 16 in clutch moments this year, last 5 minutes of a 5-point game. 8 of 16, 3 of 6 from 3, 5 of 10 from 2, total of 19 total points in clutch moments, which puts him 16th in the entire league right now. So Trae Young wonders why Jalen Brunson was chosen for FIBA over him. Well, there you go. I mean, if last season didn't show it, if the playoffs didn't show it last year, maybe pay attention to how this year's going so far. I don't know what to say anymore. Brunson is a very underrated point guard. I consider him a star player, better than Trae Young. I think he's a top 30 player, probably top 25. He's the reason the Knicks are looking for one star player now and not two. And no, that answer is not Zach LaVine, because that rumor is it's starting to pop up again. It does every few months, it feels like. So we're not even going to talk about that. But yeah, Brunson's looking better. He's got to start looking better from two, because he's still been up and down there. So we'll see. Again, love the passing, love the three-point shooting. The defense has even been excellent from him this year so far. So, given his size. I am handing the game ball to Julius Randle. I'm going to give it to Julius. His first of the season last night.
Bing bang.
Randle, 29 points, 10 boards, 8 assists, just misses the triple-double. Only 1 turnover, 50% from the field, 12 of 24, 3 of 5 from 3, and he hits both of his free throws. Plays 39 minutes. By far, his best, most complete game of the season. He looked excellent. And we keep saying it. Get this guy going downhill. Get him attacking the basket, playing bully ball. And that's exactly what we keep getting lately. He wasn't getting his calls last night, but it really didn't deter him. He was bullying everybody. I mean, Hunter, Johnson, Capella, Sadiq Bey, even Okongwu. He had the M1 finish on him. He shot a three-pointer in Bogdanovic's face. He was taking everybody. I love the pick and roll with he and Mitch. We're still using that. That helps Randle get going in that downhill motion, and it's impossible to guard him, especially if you're facing a drop defense, since they can't switch it. They got their momentum going backwards. He's going at you. Good luck. So I think it's important we keep getting him going downhill, and it's important we try to get him involved early. 14 points in the first quarter last night. Get him going early in the game, because that was a staple of the Knick offense last year. Randle got hot early. The Knicks won games, and the Knicks did that last night. They made an effort to get it to him in the first quarter. 14 points. He took 12 shots. That's what we want. Get him involved early. Usually Randle, when he has high usage games, isn't the most efficient, but he had a good all-around game last night. He had a big third quarter. That was important when the Knicks were struggling. He kept them alive. And then the fourth quarter comes, and he's doing things we don't usually see. How about the cut from him? He cut. We never see him involve himself when he's not with the ball. He cut a few times in this game. He cuts middle. Brunson finds him in the fourth. And then in the third quarter, he cuts and Quickley finds him. It's new. He was distributing the ball well. 8 assists, 1 turnover. His chemistry with Quickley, that paid off in the fourth quarter. He fed him. He helped the Knicks exploit Trae Young. I like the touch pass there, the last second on the shot clock. That was nice, different. Punishing double teams with kickouts and finding his teammates, finding Mitch in some mismatches in the post. And I thought he played very well. One nitpick was at the end of the game, and this keeps happening, where he holds on to the ball because he wants the free throws. I'm just sitting here like, dude, you're a 70% foul shooter. Like, you got 3 guards out there with you. Give it to your guards. Give it to your guards. Let the high percentage shooter shoot it. He finally gets it to Quickley, barely. He nearly turned it over, but geez, I was like stressing out there. He was in the corner, sort of trapped, and he almost turns it over to the side. Oof. But he gets it to Quickley, and Quickley had a good game too. And actually, speaking of Quickley, he gets the game ball from off the bench last night. Yeah, Quickley had 20 points yesterday, 4 rebounds, a steal, 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 5 from deep, 5 of 6 at the line. So obviously the clutch shot making. The 1 3-pointer at the end of the third quarter was big. It feels like he always hits those random bombs that kind of swing the momentum. Then obviously the 2 baskets out of the timeout, and then he knocked down some big free throws in the fourth quarter as well. His pull-up jumper continues to look good this year. But in this game, his shot creation and his playmaking was on full display since the defense was keying in on Brunson and Randle all night. You know, while Brunson was struggling in the middle portion of the game, Quickley was running good offense as the playmaker. Second quarter, he draws the defense in on a drive, kicks out to Josh Hart, who was wide open at the top of the key for a 3. This time, Hart pulls the trigger. He finds Hartenstein in the pick and roll at the basket. He ran another pick and roll with Hartenstein, and he finds Dante cutting. And then in the third quarter, you got a Brunson-Hartenstein pick and roll on the left wing. Quickley's in the strong side corner. Brunson passes to Quickley. Quickley rapidly hits a cutting Randle from the top of the key. I think we mentioned that when we just talked about Randle. So I liked his playmaking last night. Quickley gets his team high 6th Bing Bong game ball this season. Leads the entire team. Been great with the second unit, man. They just need RJ back. You know, that's really it. The second unit needs RJ back. I don't love Josh Hart's fit with the starters. I still thought last night there were times where he hesitated more. That pump fake drive he likes doing is a bit annoying. You can see he's still gun shy, but he played good. You know, every rebound he grabbed, he was going right. He was quick to push the tempo and get that thing up the floor. But yeah, when you get RJ with that bench, it's much better. Like Dante's not doing it for me. He's not really impressed yet. The defensive activity is great. He plays the passing lanes well. He rebounds a little bit. He'll run the break. He cuts a lot in the half court. And last night, he actually made some shots at the basket. But overall, he's not found a three-point shot yet. He still misses one too many bunnies. Just a little too loose with the passing. You know, he's playing like he's still with Golden State. You know, but I don't know how much we expect from this kid because we did get him at mid-level exception. I still want to see a little more. Like, it's the three-point shot with me. I need him to start knocking down the three a little bit more often. There were way too many open looks. There have been way too many open looks this season that he's just not capitalizing on. So with RJ Barrett out, it's rough to watch a 3-man bench, you know. But with RJ Barrett on that bench, often running with them, everything seems to click because they like to run. Quickley, Hart, Dante, RJ likes to run. Without RJ, Thibs runs 8 men, so the defense can key in on certain guys, and we'll talk more about the 8-man rotation a little later in the show. I'm not blaming Thibs. It's more roster control. We'll talk a little bit more about it in a second, but the bench needs RJ. It's ugly. This offense is not great when RJ sits. It was somehow they scored 116 last night. It wasn't a pretty one. Mitchell Robinson, we haven't even talked about him. He continues to be the most underrated player on the team. Probably one of the most underrated defensive players in the NBA. 6 points, 15 boards, 3 steals, a block, no fouls, a +8 in the box score, and 31 minutes last night. Completely took Clint Capella out of the game, as he does a lot. Capella just 8 points, 3 rebounds, a game low, -21 in 26 minutes. But just saving their ass time and time again. I mean, unbelievable hustle for Mitchell Robinson last night. There was the one sequence in particular that every Knicks fan who has ever criticized Mitchell Robinson should go back and watch this clip. It was leading up to the play where he dove on the floor and hit Josh Hart. The Knicks are on defense. They're down 2 points with 4 minutes left. They have Mitch show high on the Murray Capella pick and roll on the side. Mitch does an excellent job of staying with Murray and getting his hands up to slow down the drive. Then he recovers to be able to deflect the pass to the roller and Clint Capella. He somehow grabs the steal and pushes it to Brunson to lead the break. And then that leads to the possession where he's fighting for the rebound, which becomes a loose ball. He goes to the ground for it. He's able to get it to Hart, who swings it to Brunson, who knocks down the three. I thought that sequence from the beginning of that side pick and roll to that pass he made diving on the ball was just a perfect sequence displaying Mitchell Robinson's importance. Just providing an excellent display of defense to offense that Mitchell Robinson brings. And he continues to just be one of the better defensive big men in the league. You watch the eye test is telling you his development has been rapid. And you go and look into the numbers, you peel it back. Those have been steadily climbing each year. Offensive rebounds up every year. Defensive rebounds up every year. So his rebounds are climbing every year. His fouls are getting less and less every year. He's been able to play more minutes every year. He's looking like a completely different player with more muscle, but he's still got the athleticism, the mobility, so he's able to guard the perimeter. He's able to defend pick and roll. He can play drop because he's so mobile and long. He's really become just near perfect defensively, honestly. There's not much I can really complain about when it comes to Mitchell Robinson's defense and hustle, because he's not a scorer, but he provides the Knicks extra possessions so often with what he's able to do on the offensive glass. So I felt like I should have, I wanted to give him the game ball last night because of how great and important he was. But just because the numbers aren't there every night doesn't mean he's not making impact. He doesn't need to score 20 points to be a great center. He's doing exactly what he's called to do, and it's been great. And that's it. I want to wrap this up by talking about this 8-man rotation real quick, because you have to think with RJ and Grimes now down. I mean, Thibs is obviously going to go at least 8, but will he go 9? If Grimes is not playing on Friday and and RJ is not playing on Friday, the question is, who the hell plays? Deuce, you have to think, is going to be in one of those slots. But is that going to be it? Is it just going to be an 8-man? Because the 8-man rotation thing's a bit rough. I understand it. Like, the roster is not super talented outside the 9 guys. So when one of them goes down, like RJ, he goes 8. But it's like you still have guys on the bench who can provide an elite skill set in specific assets of the modern game. You have Deuce McBride, who provides top-tier point-of-attack defense. You have Jericho Sims, who provides great screening, great rim protection, and he's a pretty switchable big. So on nights like that, RJ's down. You need a 9th man. I need those guys checking in. I need Thibs, when he's got injuries, to now shift to, okay, how can I get some of these young players involved now? Look at Denver. Jamal Murray goes down. Mike Malone's going 10 deep, 9 deep at the least. This is a championship coach, but he's finding a balance between competing and getting the younger guys involved when injuries happen. Their second-round pick, Pickett, played big minutes in the game the other night. He ran 10 2 games ago. It's the little things beneath the surface of what's happening now. Developing young players, that's still part of a coach's job. Trusting your younger players to make mistakes and letting them make mistakes so they get that experience. I feel like when you have 2 injuries to your starters, that's probably a good time to do so. So I don't love the 8-man rotation thing. He's got no choice but to run at least 8. He's not running 7. He's not running a 2-man bench, but Deuce is probably going to get minutes on Friday. And then it's probably going to be Sims. You might see the more double post action, which I know we hate that. I know we hate dual bigs, but you'll probably, because Deuce and Sims are the two guys he usually goes to first. I can't imagine Fournier, although he brings elite 3-point shooting, gets many minutes. He might, but I can't see it. I just think the situation there is too awkward at this point. But I'm expecting Deuce, but I have a feeling it might stay at 8 after that. So let's say Grimes sits tomorrow and RJ sits tomorrow, which probably both of that's happening. You got, I guess you're bringing Dante into the starting lineup and you're sliding Deuce into Dante's spot. Right? Yeah. Here's a question. Say RJ Barrett returns tomorrow night and Quentin Grimes is out. There's no way you keep Hart in the starting lineup, right? Because that cannot, you can't have RJ and Hart out there with Randle and Mitch. There's no way that's going to be a thing. If RJ returns, I would say Hart goes back to the bench, but Dante replaces him in the starting lineup, but then you're playing small. But I think that's the best to get more offense. And that's what we need. It's it's interesting. But I mean, yeah, it'd be nice if he expanded the rotation, because up next we've got a back-to-back. Friday, Saturday, Washington, then they're going down to Charlotte. So good luck. We'll see what Thibs does. Let's wrap it up when we return from our final break here on BD4. Let's go.
If you have time in the day or maybe just prefer old-fashioned reading over listening, then you can always follow along and subscribe to BD4 Blog by going to BD4blog.com. We're not on there as often, but when we do post, it's just as entertaining, opinionated, and passionate as we are on this podcast. Thank you so much. And let's keep on with the show.
Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. If you are new here to the podcast, be sure to subscribe to BD4. Download these episodes, share them on social media with your friends. Thank you, though, for tuning in to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Again, you can find this podcast by watching the video format on YouTube and Spotify. You can also listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So, with that all said, let's wrap this one up with our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day here for episode 579. So for this episode of the show, we're going to wrap this up with our trivia. And in this episode, I'm asking you to name, where is it? Here it is. Richie Guerin scored the first 3 50-point games for the Knicks. Who was the next Knick to score that many? All right. Richie Guerin scored the first 3 50-point games for the Knicks. Who was the next Knick to score 50 or more? So one final time, Richie Guerin scored the first 3 50-point games for the Knicks. Who was the next Knick to score that many? Let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. If you get the answer correct, I'll give you a shout out in the next episode. That's it for this episode, though. That's it for BD4, episode 579. Bit under an hour. We had a few things to discuss. I think we got to all of it. Hope you enjoy the show. I really appreciate you tuning in. Whoever does, the 1-2 people, if at all, I appreciate it very much. So thank you for tuning in. And that's it for the show. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you, and we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees and go Knicks!